Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings in my weekly radio show, Operation Freedom, which airs out of the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, Michigan, every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern, is to provide you information the bought-off lamestream fake media is not going to provide, not going to touch. You can join us every Sunday, 2 to 5. Go to davejanda.com. Listen live free. Just hit the Listen Live button in the corner. Join us. We're there 2 to 5 Eastern. In addition, we upload a tremendous amount of public information, free information on davejanda.com on a very regular basis. We also have our subscription service at 30 cents a day, $9 a month, biggest bang for the buck in all the internet, where we have multiple shows. The WTF show, where I summarize weekly geopolitical events from my sources behind the curtain. We have our Insider Insight show, where we deep dive on issues that we can't get quite as deep on our radio show in our 20-minute segments. We also have our Department of Advanced Research show with Nick Ruiz, where we look at IT issues and issues occurring around the globe as it relates to your cybersecurity. And we also have our archives from the Operation Freedom show, our Insider Insight show, our Contributing Editor section, and our healthcare briefings. Join us, take a spin, take a look at davejanda.com. Today's topic is the three-stage assault of Trump on the deep state. Okay, let's talk about it. And we've talked in the past about this domino theory of what's going to transpire. First domino, first stage, getting Kavanaugh in. Look, I had some issues with Kavanaugh. I believe he was too tight with the Bushes. Anybody tight with the Bushes, the Clintons, the Obamas, any political leader over the past 60 years, I have a problem with, because most of those players have all been puppets of the deep state. But I believe prior to the nomination, Trump flipped Kavanaugh from, if you will, being a player for the deep state, because he worked in the Bush administration, his wife worked for the Bush administration in the White House themselves. Bottom line is, I believe he flipped Kavanaugh, and the key component of Trump nominating Kavanaugh was committed to restoration, however you want to say it, to the rule of law. He needed to have a 5-4 solid majority in the Supreme Court, because the next stages, the next phases, as this rolls out of taking down the deep state, there will be some constitutional issues raised by middle-level puppets in the deep state saying, you can't do that, This is why he needed a 5-4 majority in the rule of law, for the rule of law. And that's why within several hours of after he was approved by the Senate, he was sworn into office at the Supreme Court. So now we have the first phase done, Kavanaugh in. What's the second phase? And this is what has the deep state panicked. And that is the declassification of what? Declassification of the FISA warrants, in particular the FISA warrant, the first one that brought down Carter Page within the Trump campaign. Second issue that they're going to declassify, or documents they're going to declassify, the texts between Comey and McCabe. And the third, the 302 forms, the forms that the FBI fills out when they interviewed Bruce Orr, the number 4 in stature in the Justice Department in the Obama administration. Now let's take each one of these separately. Why are the FISA warrants so important? Here is my understanding from my sources. The first FISA warrant, issued against Carter Page, which started this whole ball of rolling that led to them entrapping Flynn and setting up this whole fake Russian collusion issue. The first warrant, it's my understanding, was not signed by the court. It was done on an emergency basis by Obama's Attorney General, Loretta Lynch. Now, she has the discretion to do that, but it has to be based on solid information. The information she utilized was the fraudulent information that was paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC, that fake Russian dossier. She made this emergency decision based on knowingly on fraudulent information. That in and of itself is a criminal act, to knowingly base it on fraudulent information. They didn't go to the FISA court, emergency order, Lynch got the surveillance warrant. They then went back to the FISA court a week later, which he was supposed to do, but the documentation that they got was to get a rubber stamp from a judge. Not the entire court, it's my understanding a judge, of which they again used a fake fraudulent Russian dossier, but did not inform the judge that it was material that was bought and paid for by the DNC and the Clinton campaign. Now, rats are starting to turn on rats. While all this issue was going on in the Congress and Senate, who's going to vote for who on Kavanaugh, on Friday, James Baker, the former general counsel, the top lawyer for the FBI under Comey, him and Comey were like this, testified that the Russian hack investigation, the fake Russian collusion investigation, was biased, first thing he said. And the second thing, he admitted that he was given information by a Democratic operative, by a lawyer, Sussman, who worked for a firm employed by the Clinton campaign and the DNC. He was given the fake Russian dossier through him. There were several copies floating around, as came out in the Inspector General's hearing in front of Congress, Michael Horowitz of the Department of Justice. But one of them that was circulating in the FBI that made its way to the FISA court came through this Sussman character who's tied to the DNC and the Clinton campaign through his law firm. Baker testified to that. That's huge. But the bought-off lamestream fake media isn't going near it. So number one, the reason why they're trying to block these FISA warrants from becoming declassified is it shows that fraudulent information paid for by the DNC and the Clinton campaign was used to get these FISA warrants, which were essentially fraudulent because they were based on fraudulent information. And that's what was used to surveil Trump, Carter Page, Flynn, the Trump team. The second documentation that they don't want declassified, that Trump does, are the texts between Comey and McCabe. Why? Because both are deep state players. It's my understanding these texts will show that there was active sedition and treason at the highest level of the FBI, but it goes beyond the highest level of the FBI. It's my understanding that these texts will actually circle in high-level Department of Justice officials and actually circle in people in the White House. Apparently, Barack Obama, in his presidential daily briefings, had information passed to him from the Justice Department and the FBI about the takedown of Trump. That would be sedition and treason. The other part of the documentation the deep state does not want declassified are the 302 forms by Bruce Orr, who is number 4 in stature in the Department of Justice. Why? Because it apparently, Bruce Orr was the main author of the fake Russian dossier. Yes, it went to this Steele character and Fusion GPS that added rewrites and edits and additional garbage to put in there. But a significant portion of the fake Russian dossier, it's my understanding, was written by Bruce Orr, a high-level official within the Obama administration. Obama was aware of it and essentially condoned it. There's also a little tidbit that happened that the bought-off lamestream fake media isn't talking about. This happened this past Friday. The FBI announced that it's not going to release the Uranium 1 documents. Well, here we go again. They're trying to drag their feet on the declassification that Trump has ordered, unredacted declassification of the FISA warrants, of the 302 forms of Bruce Orr, and of the McCabe-Comey texts. They're also dragging their feet on releasing Uranium 1 documents. Why? Brief review. Uranium 1, $145 million was provided to the Clinton Foundation, and in payment for that, 20% of our uranium supply was essentially sold to Russia. Money laundering operation, pay-to-play scheme, illegal. The FBI does not want to release the documents related to Uranium 1 because they are complicit in the deal. It's my understanding that the Uranium 1 deal is completely tied, as we've outlined, to the Clinton Foundation. In the documentation, it essentially acknowledges the fact that the Clinton Foundation is a CIA covert run operation that has been occurring for years, and that operation was used to illegally run weapons. That's why Hillary had to have her private server in her house, because they wanted to hide the information on Uranium-1. They wanted to hide the information on what was occurring with China. I mean, that was an open sieve to China. As the Inspector General of the intelligence community has testified to, tens of thousands of emails from Hillary's server went directly to China. And in the process, 18 CIA operatives in China were summarily assassinated based on that information. Benghazi is all tied into this. Benghazi, bottom line, listen to the interviews with General Paul Vallely, General Tom McInerney, Claire Lopez, former analyst with the CIA, Michael Igmire, whose nephew, Sean Smith, was murdered in Benghazi, one of the 4 victims. All have come up with the same conclusion. Benghazi was a weapons-running operation through the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton as the Secretary of State. They were funneling arms. Stevens, the ambassador, was appointment, funneling arms to Al-Qaeda to take out Gaddafi. Once they killed Gaddafi and ruined that government, took that government down, they reversed the flow. This is what Stevens was doing, but he got cold feet, and were funneling it into Turkey. And from Turkey, they were funneled into Syria to weaponize what group? ISIS. Oh. This actually confirms what General Flynn did. General Flynn put out information. He was director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, that in fact, the United States, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Israel were weaponizing, funding, and training ISIS, which is the reason why they had to take out General Flynn. He's an innocent man. He's an honest man. Mark my words. Benghazi was a weapons-running illegal operation run through the Obama administration with Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. They reversed those flow. Stevens got cold feet, started to speak to some people outside of the deep state about this operation. And that is why Benghazi occurred and why those 4 Americans died. And that's why no help was sent. It's sick. They had to tie up loose ends and make sure no one was going to speak. And that's why the Obama administration did not send people to help. The end result of 4 dead Americans was not an accident. It was about tying up loose ends. The deep state's on the run. The deep state's panicked. And we're about to enter a rule of law reset. The first phase, Kavanaugh. The second phase, declassification. When that declassification hits, I predict Jeff Sessions will partially recuse himself at least partially, maybe fully, recuse himself on the Russia investigation. You'll probably see them moving out of Rosenstein, and you're going to see Huber, who Sessions has been working with behind the curtain to hammer out these indictments in front of the grand juries across our country. Huber will step to the plate, prosecute people through the criminal courts. In addition, and this came up as we've outlined before, in the testimony of the hearing of Brett Kavanaugh with Lindsey Graham, military tribunals. Military tribunals will go into effect for the high-level players when it comes to sedition and treason. I predict one of the top people, initial people to go down in those tribunals will be John Brennan, former director of the CIA under Barack Obama. I hope you'll join us at davejanda.com for the public side, for the subscription side, 30 cents a day, biggest bang for the buck in the internet. I hope you'll join us every Sunday from 2 to 5. If you missed the show and if you're a subscriber, the podcasts are always available for you 24/7. Until next time, this is Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.